one, right? I mean, if you're going to go a long
Exactly.
time, you have to run. Hillsong is a happy place, and like you're a happy person. People have enough pain, you know. They don't need to come in some somber atmosphere. You have to stay joyful, and the ministry stay joyful. I think you've done a fantastic job at that. Tell me what you like most about living in California and what you like least.
The taxes is what I like least.
They're high.
The taxes and the ridiculous
Politics.
BS governments and so on.
What city would be more liberal, Sydney or LA? I've never been to Australia. Till you get that huntsman spider situation figured out, I'm not going.
Well, a huntsman spider's huge looking, but it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
There's much more vicious ones that are only about this big. They'll kill you.
Let me tell you something, though. They wouldn't have to hurt me. When they stand up on their back legs, I'd go home to be with Jesus. I'd clutch my chest and you'd see like a cartoon ghost float up to heaven. So what city would you say is more liberal, Sydney or LA?
Well, which one do I like most?
No, which one would you say is more liberal politically, since you brought up politics? Which has higher taxes?
That's actually a good question. I think I say LA would have higher taxes overall.
Wow.
Yeah. California's got the highest taxes in America.
I know.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how it stacked up with Australia. Pretty crazy that there's any of that in a country that was founded over shooting British people over a 2-cent tea tax. we got off the rails somewhere. We're not pro-shooting British people. If anyone's watching on YouTube, please don't give me a strike.
What I love about California is it's a little bit like Australia weather-wise. So obviously the sun shines. I love the surf. I love the water, you know.
Do you surf?
My boys were big surfers. I loved the ocean. I'd body surf and so on. I never really surfed.
Did you know that's why Chuck Smith stayed in California?
Why?
Surfing.
Right.
I heard his testimony one time. It stunned me. Chuck Smith from Calvary Chapel. He said, I had 2 years of sermons that I had written. So I would stay at a church 2 years, then ask for a transfer, run out of my 2 years. And he said he moved to wherever his church was in Southern California, Costa Mesa.
Yeah, down the street from me.
And he would meet up with a lawyer and a dentist every morning from his church at 6 a.m. and they would surf for an hour and a half before work. And he said he loved it so much that the denomination called at the 2-year mark and said, I guess you're going to be asking for a transfer. He said, no, I want to stay here. And so that's actually, it forced him. That's when he started doing the chapter by chapter Bible study because he was out of sermons. But then that's what made his ministry take. Again, like you listen to that story, you'd be amazed how much revolves around having some type of personal system where you enjoy your life. Yeah. You have to like life, or you're going to be a miserable preacher. And even preaching the same way, you're going to deliver it mean. And it's really because, like most of these guys that are like angry and rebuking people, and Paula White doesn't belong at the White House. I guarantee you, they have a bad marriage, or they don't like where they live, or they have no hobbies. They're just mean. Because if you're enjoying life, what do you care who's in charge of the faith board or any of that stuff? So, you know, when you meet people that did it for a long time well, they like where they live, and they built an environment that fosters long life. So you don't like the taxes. And you like the weather.
Yeah, I like the people too. I like the mindset in Southern California.
I like the people too.
Yeah.
I find, you know, this surprised me, but I found the Christians there the strongest. Like Texas, and I have a church there, so I'm not looking to make enemies, but it's beneficial to be a Christian in Texas. It benefits you politically, it benefits you in business. There's no benefit for being a Christian in LA. Right. So when you meet people who are, they love the Lord. And I like that. I found like very strong Christians there. I liked it.
But Australia and California are very similar. Australia's extremely socialist, left-leaning media, all the same things. More and more toxicity in politics, and the same social issues as here. So there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you like the climate, you ever been to Scottsdale?
Yeah.
What made you choose California over Scottsdale? Airport?
Well, Have you
Oh, the ocean.
Have you ever been to Phoenix Beach?
You like the ocean. I got you. Now, that's the one thing they don't have.
It's a desert. Plus, it's hotter than hell.
It is.
In Arizona.
It is. I like the heat, though. I actually go on vacation there in July because the resorts are empty.
Right.
I like how it clears
really?
everybody out. Yeah, and I like the heat, even though Camila one time cried because she just sat on the seatbelt accidentally and almost had to take her to the burn unit. It was like the seatbelt was like 150 degrees.
Yeah.
All right, let's open it up for questions. Get a couple microphones and just make sure it's no weirdos asking questions with weird questions. The more practical the question, the better. You guys, students, enjoy? Yeah. Good.
Thanks.
We appreciate Pastor Brian coming all the way from LA just to speak at the Bible College and speak to me. You've really helped me. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Question. Got two in the back.
Hi, I was just wondering what advice you have.
Fellow
for people-
Australian.
Yes. Hi.
Are you Australian?
Yes, I'm from Western Australia.
Oh, I thought you were Australian. Sorry.
I was wondering what advice you have for people that are going into ministry married. Obviously, you had a long time married in ministry with your wife. What's the best kind of general counsel you could give?
So I'm actually having trouble hearing you.
What counsel would you give to somebody that's married in the ministry? You know, she said they're going into the ministry, her and her husband. What advice would you give to married couples? Great question.
Well, the greatest unifier in any marriage, to me, if you want to have a good marriage, the greatest unifier by far is vision. If you're both, you can have totally different roles, personalities. One can be a doctor and the other one a plumber, all of those things. But if you're about the same thing, that'll keep your marriage together more than any other thing. So that sense of we're in this together. We're different people, but we're in this together is, to me, one of the greatest things about ministry. Having somebody that you can trust, that you can speak to, who you can, literally be the most intimate with in terms of your feelings, where you're at. I think it's much easier to do ministry married than alone.
Sure. I think to expound on what he said, and especially from a husband standpoint, like Pastor Brian was saying, that a church has to be a place where people can flourish. Your marriage has to be a place where you're the husband and the head of the home. You have to make it where your children and wife can flourish and not be restricted.
Exactly.
When Adonis felt to write those Mighty Series children's book, we didn't even have it close to it in the budget. But I knew it was in her heart, and I thought, I'll figure it out. I'm not going to say, because I got ready to go, no. I thought, I'm not doing that. Because you meet preachers' wives with big black bags under their eyes and frowns, and when their mouth smiles, their eyes don't smile because you can tell they've been oppressed. They're not allowed to do anything. And so pay attention to what your wife is dreaming about and doing, and find a way to facilitate it. If it's not this tour, 4-city tour that my wife's doing right now, that's, in a Falcon 900. That's not some small thing. Right, Adalis, right now we're building 2 churches. We don't have, if you do that, you start crushing your wife's spirit. And then she doesn't really like living anymore. And she looks like it on the face. And that's why a lot of preachers' wives look like that. Facilitate what's in their heart. Stay together. But God's going to use, both of you to grow the thing that God has you to do. And then on the flip side, to not come at it from the negative standpoint, when you allow space to flourish and your wife's enjoying her part in the ministry, then you have a happy marriage. And like Pastor Brian said, it's very hard to get divorced from somebody that's your business partner too. If you let one spouse start leading their own life, then it's easy to break up. When you're so intertwined, I mean, this is like a terrible way to get the point across, but like, if me and Adonis split up, I still would kind of try to negotiate. Can you still help out at Revival Today Church Pittsburgh though? Because you're doing a great job. You know what I mean? Like, so obviously we're not going to get divorced because we're spouse, we're business partners. Our lives, like he was talking about, they're totally tied in. Whereas if the man preaches, the wife works at the MAC makeup counter, Nordstrom makeup counter, and you start going like this, it can be trouble. Next question.
Starting in the ministry as an evangelist, what and the experiences that you've had since then, because I understand in evangelism you almost got to have like this pioneering mentality where you got to like blaze a trail and just rock and roll. So when it comes to starting in evangelism and the experiences you've had, what advice do you have as somebody that's about to start in evangelism, and what advice do you, or what have you noticed makes the difference in why some evangelists are good and others are not?
What advice do you have for the Bible college students that are getting ready to graduate that feel called into evangelism?
Who asked the question?
Makana. He's from
Can
Hawaii.
you stand up for one sec? There we go. So, what was the question?
What advice do you have?
A little ADHD, I've got to be honest.
What advice do you have for somebody that's graduating Bible school that feels called into evangelism that's going to launch out from somebody who did it?
Well, honestly, you got to be prepared sometimes to go where no one else wants to go, and preach to people that no one else much wants to preach to, and start from the ground up. I mean, we always believe God to bring incredible blessing to everything we do, but like I say, when I started, my wife and I would go out to little tiny rural towns in Australia where no one else much was going to go, and just start preaching and doing. You know, I always felt like if you preached to 100 people as though you were preaching to 10,000 people, one day you will preach to 10,000 people in your meetings. So I don't know, you may have a better answer, but my answer is start from the ground and be ready for the hard grind. Have faith, have expectation, believe God's going to bless you, God's going to grow you. But it's very rare to suddenly walk into being an evangelist that, you know, fills stadiums. So you're just going to do what's in front of you.
That small piece of advice that he gave as part of the bigger advice, very rural places are great for meetings. I noticed when I preached in South Dakota, there were people driving 8 and 9 hours. Montana,
Exactly.
Wyoming, no one goes. No, there's places. Who's held a meeting in North Dakota?
Exactly.
I still haven't been there. It's one of the 7 states I haven't preached in. And when you go, like if you go to Brooklyn, somebody will say, like, let me know if you're ever south of 22nd Street. I'll come hear you preach. Same with LA, because it takes an hour to get to LA from LA. But then if you go out to rural Texas, it's all rural, North Dakota, Iowa, you can have great meetings there because like no one's ever gone there since like the 70s, 90s. So people drive in from everywhere. It's great. I know you're doing that. And so small places are great. I agree with you. Next question.
Yes.
So when you started out preaching in rural places, what was your system in setting up those meetings? Like, did you have a point person to contact? How'd you go about that?
I mostly worked with either youth ministries, youth camps, or with churches. So I didn't just go out cold without a church or somebody backing me and supporting me. So, you know, they would do the work on the ground. We would just roll up and preach.
Next.
First, I greatly appreciate your time in coming to pour into all of us. This has been an amazing week, and especially today is certainly special.
This question's starting off like a city council meeting. Go ahead.
My question for you is, what have you seen from your own experience that keeps ministry small or hinders them from growing, churches or evangelists?
Good question.
Yeah, and there's a lot of answers. But basically, if you don't grow, your ministry will never grow. It's about enlarging as a person, becoming bigger spirited, bigger hearted, expanding your faith, believing God for more. I think the small thinking, small spiritedness, small mindedness, those are the things that will keep your ministry small. The other thing, of course, is if you're a square peg in a round hole, so you're trying to do something that God never called you to do. that tends to lead to frustration for years in a person's life. They're just doing what they were never meant to be doing.
Great answer. I mean, he did the answer. But great question too. No, all right, good. Oh, you're saying thanking him. Good. Next, there's one more. Two more.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question. So you said that you had an encounter with God, and that's what changed your mind about prosperity. Would you credit that as being the most radical encounter that changed the trajectory of your life in ministry, or was there another encounter?
Yeah, as far as, yes, the trajectory of my ministry and what Hillsong became, that was the greatest encounter that I had. It was actually with three people. Ray McCauley in South Africa, Casey Treat, and a guy called Rick Goldman. You know that name? San Antonio.
Yes. Yeah, I met him too.
And by the way,
they're all friends.
All three of them, your friends?
No, I said that they were all close, right?
Yeah,
because I met them all at the same time.
So we didn't realize it then, but we have been lifelong friends. Ray McCauley just went to heaven.
I know.
In South Africa. But even now, I've been through some tough times. Casey Treat, Rick Goldman, they're the two guys before anyone else that were there for me.
That's awesome.
So that was the encounter that definitely had the greatest. It changed the way I think. It changed the way I saw God, changed the way I saw life, changed the way I saw ministry, it changed the way I saw church. So it changed everything. Like I say, I would attribute so much of the blessing that came to Hillsong Church to that encounter, to that time.
That's awesome.
And even leading, when I told you that I led we call it AOG, but the Assemblies of God in Australia for 12 years, it changed that as well. Like the AOG, which by the time I finished was called Australian Christian Churches, was very different by the time that my time there ended than it was when it started.
How so? The embracing of the...
Basically people catching something else, a different spirit, not being so denominational in our thinking and our mindsets.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a thing to do. Great job. Great question. Next question.
So kind of a two-part question is, obviously you said that when you saw what was on somebody's life when they were raised up in the ministry, and that's when you knew that you were going to place them in a campus pastoral position. But what kind of things were you looking for to know that they were ready to move into that role? Obviously you saw they had a gift and a calling, but you said now you're ready to take on this position. And then also when you sent them somewhere, what were tools or a framework that you gave them to be successful? Obviously you said stay in the framework of Hillsong but paint your own picture, but what were like practical tools that you said do this and this and this and this will help you be successful wherever you would place them?
I'm sure you get this all the time, but you look like the guy that tried to kill President Trump. Because I'm sure.
Was it him?
I mean, it was 30 minutes from here. Was it? No, he's gone. He's deceased.
Maybe it was his brother.
It's a family thing.
You put me off now. I can't remember his question.
What tools did you give people in the ministry when you could see something on their life to succeed, or guidelines?
Yeah, being able to see the gold in someone's life means there's a whole lot of dross that you look past. So oftentimes, I think sometimes God gives people a gift where you can see in someone what no one else can see. So what you can see, ultimately the whole world can see. And they think God was always obvious, but it wasn't always obvious. So, it's hard to go past just looking at someone's heart. People proving themselves in the local church. So if, you're there half an hour after everyone else, still cleaning up and tidying up and being prepared to lock the doors, and you got there an hour before everyone else to pray, and it's not show, it's genuine, you locate yourself. One of the woke mindset terms that's become uncool is proximity. So, people only getting their opportunity because of proximity. But we built our ministry on proximity because people are close to you because they behaved their way there. People became noticed because they stood out. They stood out by their service. They stood out by their sacrifice. They stood out by their joy and their zeal and being in the front row and being the first one to be taking notes. So I feel like, the proving ground is all of those things, just being the guy that's there. In terms of, ultimately doing well in life, I can tell you how to do well in life and in ministry, and that is just keep showing up. Be the last man standing. That's how you reach the top. Just keep showing up. Be the last man standing. That's how, you get to seeing God move and use your life in an incredible way. Just keep showing up. Be the last man standing. Did it answer the question? Because it might not have, but it was good advice anyway.
No, it answered it. That was great. Let me have, where's Magalis? Oh, Magalis is my right-hand man. That's my wife's twin sister, and she runs all the administration.
I think she's right behind this pillar.
Yeah, that actually wasn't her. I had it built just to obscure half the crowd from seeing the stage.
It's a good idea. You put the people who are...
I studied architecture.
You put the people who are discouraging to preach to. You put them behind there.
Magalis, a question as administrator for somebody that had a world-changing ministry, something you'd like to know?
Yes, but let me get back to you because let me think about it because I want it to count. Is that okay?
Take 10 seconds.
No, hang on. Just come back to me. Somebody else has a question. I
One
promise
more
you.
question.
I'm gonna make it worth your while.
Gets her bearings.
As a young traveler,
Who are you? Oh, there. Sorry. What was the question? What do you say?
What did you have that attracted so many people? Why? Okay, so you hear a lot of preachers, they don't have anybody, I don't have any help, nobody wants to help me. You had people that saw what you were doing, and you probably had to weed people out. There were so many that wanted to help. Why? What about what you were doing or you made people gravitate to the vision?
Well, the will of God is exciting. And, basically make it exciting. Just create the kind of environment that people want to be part of. Become that church that... I think it's always awesome when, people from other churches bring people to your church because they want them to get saved. They're not going to get saved in that church. So they bring them to your church. Unfortunately, then they take them back to the other church.
That's true.
But, be that church where people would think, man, if I want to see someone get healed, if I want to see someone get filled with the Holy Spirit, if I want to see someone get saved, I'm taking them to revival today because it's not going to happen down there, but it's going to happen here. So I love just kind of trying to create that kind of atmosphere.
That's an excellent answer. All right, Magalis, what do you got? You guys getting something out of this? Very good.
Pastor Brian, you have a wonderful tan. Okay, no. When you talked about culture, what are some ways that you can implement the culture that you want to see within your people? Do you constantly have to vet, culture? Is that something that just people pick up on? What would you give as advice for us?
When it comes to that, things like culture, leadership, who we want to be, the job's never done. You've got to reaffirm. That's why our weekly staff meetings, which became hundreds of people in the end, but that's what it was. It was just reaffirming all those things. Culture. And of course, if you want to talk about culture, you have to be the culture. I can't just tell you, these are the 7 things that that is our culture. like culture's like everything else, it's caught. You know, it's not taught. So when Bobby and I started Hillsong Church, we had to be the culture. You know, that ultimately is what creates culture. Here, I'm presuming that you and Adelis?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Adelis. Who you be is what ultimately determines the culture of this place.
Right, you're not trying to manufacture it, it's who you are.
Yeah. So...
But you did a great job with that, because if you went to Hillsong, Scottsdale, for example, or Phoenix, wherever it was, it was like, I mean, they weren't all different. They were the same as you know? So that's pretty amazing to do that across countries.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But culture is contagious. So you're not, the guy who's driving me.
Jay.
It's not his mother.
That's his aunt.
Right, okay.
That's my wife's twin sister, and then they got another sister. They got a few other sisters, and that's one of their sons.
All right, because he
Same
told me.
family.
Because he's your...
Nephew.
Yeah. Okay.
And her nephew, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Great
a
family.
follow-up question. When you talk about these weekly meetings, like how do you do it so gracefully to continue to instill the culture without getting frustrated if you're not seeing the results that you want to see?
I can't say that I never got frustrated. People can be very frustrating. Honestly, you just got to be yourself and do what you do. And, you know, if I love what I love, it just leaks out of me. And so those meetings are like that, I think. It comes naturally. It just leaks out of you because, you know, again, you are just being who God called you to be.
Out of curiosity, you know, I was close with Rodney Howard-Brown, and he got arrested during the COVID time. And he told me after 2 weeks, he said, you know, for the last 2 weeks, you're the only person that returns my texts or phone calls, because I was talking to them every day. When you went through a tough time, you said Casey Treat stayed close to you. They were like real friends.
Yeah.
Other than them, how many people did you hear from when everything hit the fan, like the first month or so?
There was a good number of people.
Good.
But it's devastating and shocking how many people disappear.
Go silent that you
And
thought
it's
were.
not even how many, it's who disappears. That's the most heartbreaking thing. Some of the people that you thought were your spiritual sons and daughters, you know, people I just thought that'd be like my own sons, you know, and my own daughter. Like they'd just run to us. But some of them, I realised that really, ultimately, they love me for the opportunities I gave them.
Interesting. That is, people are pretty political. One thing I got from my grandfather was the first one saved in our family. He pastored for 62 years. He was pretty rough. But he was interesting because he would like insult the people you were supposed to kiss up to. And then like go towards people that you were supposed to like vilify. Do you know what I mean? So like somebody you thought he was going to lay out, he'd treat them super nice. And then somebody you thought, so I think I kind of got that from him where I don't like that. Like, it's like, I'm not that close with Paula White. I've met her like 4 times, but I've been lighting people up online because I just don't like that. I don't like that somebody starts bringing up and calling her names and you're free to do that. And you look at the guy, it's like, you can't fight. It's like the guy with the, like, why have Christians always felt the other side can do whatever they want and we just like take it on the chin? I know the Bible says turn the other cheek, but you know, you're not correct biblically because you'll say Jesus wouldn't respond to his critics. Yeah, he did a lot and harshly. I don't feel like one side should get to speak out and then you just let people be hurt and stay quiet. So I don't like that in the ministry. Like when Pastor Rodney told me that, I despise people that are like that. Like if somebody's your friend, I even don't like Pastor Brian like especially when I was only an evangelist. I'd call a pastor that I like because he's my friend. And then at the end, he'd be like, listen, I'm going to get you in for some meetings. I'm not calling for a meeting. I was just calling to talk about baseball or whatever. Right. So I don't like the political, like if you're my friend, I told this other pastor, I said, I know I haven't had you in to preach for a year. I said, if you quit the ministry and became a lumberjack, I would call you the same amount. I like you, actually. And I think there's a lot of that missing from Christianity where it's like, this is not Washington, D.C., where you use people to get ahead. It's like either like somebody or don't like them. But don't be phony. And that'll get you far. You know, think how much the Bible talks about loyalty in Scripture. A faithful man who can find. God looks at that stuff. God doesn't like Jesus wasn't phony. Jesus didn't call the Pharisees a brood of vipers, then come back later and be like, hey guys, I know I said some stuff that, he didn't care. But rich young ruler leaves, you guys want to join him? Well, Jesus was against things and for things. So lose that, like, why are you laughing?
Just you. You make me laugh.
No. Be against things and for things. Figure out what you're against and what you're for. And I will tell you, in all the stuff we've talked about, consistency in who you are and what you preach and believe breeds credibility. And an old preacher told me, credibility is currency. A lot of these churches that closed for COVID, that were full gospel, healing, preaching, Psalm 91, the reason nobody comes back, even though, come on guys, they blew their credibility. We don't trust you. Because when everything hit the fan, you ran. So if you stay, it looked like at the time, Mogalis will vouch for me, and if Patrick's here, the moves you were at the time to keep preaching during COVID and come against Dr. Fauci, that seemed ministry ending. I fielded calls from not idiots, like top people in the ministry that were older and seasoned. You're making a mistake. Check the news, looked like it would be ministry ending. To just go on and start railing, you don't do that. But it looked like we were all going to jail, so I thought if they were going to get arrested, I'm mouthing off on the way in. So, but when people know you don't change, and there's some people, they reinvent their ministry every 3 years. Yeah. When something's popular, they're doing that. Then they suit and tie for 3 years, jeans and t-shirt, back to suit and tie. Be what you're going to be, and figure it out. Figure it out in Bible college. Be who you are, and don't waver. You know who said that, which is a terrible person to quote as an example? Howard Stern had the #1 radio show in America for a long time. Artie Lang is a comedian. He was his co-host. And he said, what's the secret to being successful in radio? He said, pick a side and stay on that side no matter what. He said, the people that agree with you will listen, and the people that disagree with you will hate you so much for being so strong that they'll listen. They said 60% of Tucker Carlson's viewers were young liberals that watched him every night because of how much they hated what he was going to say. Listen to most preachers. Now, I'm not saying that God heals everybody. Don't misinterpret. I'm going to step on some toes. Spit it out. You're on an endless journey of frustration if you think you're going to preach and get 100% of people to nod their head. People won't agree with anything. There was a guy, my personal trainer, was telling me yesterday that she got in a big argument with one of her clients because he was saying that the food quality now is better than it was in the 1800s, and the rain is clean and the soil's clean, which is a lie. And he got so mad. People believe crazy things. You'll offend people no matter what you say. People get offended easy. So if you base your ministry on trying to make sure, like I have people tell me, and I'm sure you had people tell you, especially when you were younger, like, how do you get away with what you do? I'm not doing anything illegal. What do you mean get away? Oh, you say some things. Jesus said things. Think of this. Not all the time. You shouldn't be getting thrown out of meetings and stuff as your mode of operation, but Jesus said things that people's response when he got done preaching was to look for the nearest blunt object to cave his head in with. And so if you've never said anything that even caused anybody to get up and leave a service, or you're not preaching. You don't matter. You're like crepe paper. You're like soggy cardboard. You don't matter. Like, you don't say anything that bothers anybody or troubles anybody. That's why when I did that bullhorn thing in Seattle with that guy, if I go a long time without somebody getting stirred up like that, I kind of wonder what I'm doing. Because people should get upset. They got upset in the book of Acts, left and right, dragged them into court. We order you not to say this stuff anymore, or you'll be arrested. And so they can't do that in America if you get an attorney with the First Amendment. They can't do that. But the same anger that's in Islamabad, if you preach the gospel, comes from the devil. It's in people in America. They legally can't kill you, but they would if they could. And if you don't stir that up, you're not saying anything. You know, you saw the last 2 years. We've been in the news left and right for acquiring property. I'm sure you were when you were building that big church. Most pastors, they'll never say it outright, or ministers, but subconsciously, they will not do big things because they know that will happen. And they think, they have it in the back of their mind that successful ministry is everyone applauding you and loving you. And it's not, in the last days especially, it's not going to happen. You're going to have enemies. You can't do anything. There should be people that would take a bullet for you and a lot of people that want to put one in you. You should look at Trump. You know, Trump is an anomaly. That's why all the politicians, Trump so reminds me of like my kind of preacher. I'm not saying he's born again or a Messiah, but like the kind of preaching and way I conduct myself. And then you watch the news, it's like denominations. He'll never win. He'll never get one delegate vote. He thinks he can just storm on there and become the Republican nominee. And they don't get it because they think the secret to success is smoothing everything over. And the secret to, I won't say the secret to success, but a leader leads. A leader takes a line, and like Jesus said, upon hearing, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you can't be one of mine. And upon hearing this, many departed, and he turned to the disciples and said, if you'd like to join him, you could eat. Wait, no, I didn't mean, I meant like transubstantiation, but it's bread. No, he didn't even explain himself. You want to bury your father? Let the dead bury their dead. If you're coming with me, come now. And the guy left. No, then off you go. No follow-up. You pick a side. And I would say most ministers, and I won't put words in my new friend's mouth, but I would say most ministers go their whole ministry and they never take a line on something. They never pick anything. If they talk about the power of confession, I'm not saying name it, claim it. They talk about healing. I'm not saying it. Pick a side. Go all in or don't go in at all. If you're going to preach healing, preach healing. If you're going to preach faith, preach faith. Tell people about how it dissolves tumors. Don't always be trying to placate the one person that's squinting their eyebrows. Let them squint. They might just have something in their eye. And you're taking it personally. Don't base what you say on people's reaction. A lot of people had a problem with that. Let them have a problem. Jesus did. If they hated me, how much more will they hate you? And then obviously, I think too, you try to get the wrong people to like you. Jesus didn't care whether he was accepted by the Pharisees and Sadducees. No problem. You've banned me from every synagogue in Israel. I'll go preach out by the beach. But then he was going, and that's what I liked about my grandfather. Then he would go after the woman caught in adultery. People that no one wanted. And like you heard Rodney Howard-Browne teach, if you go after the people nobody wants, God will give you the people everybody wants. But most ministers are going after people everybody wants. That's why I made a point when I went to Washington, D.C., one guy that's pretty high up, he said, if you ever need a favor, let me know. I said, sir, I'll never need a favor from you, but if you ever need spiritual help or prayer, you let me know. I'm here to help. I'm not here trying to get favors. Well done. Ministry's high. You're supposed to be with people that are powerful can call, and you're not trying to get 10 grand or an endorsement or a selfie. That's why I haven't even taken pictures I'm not there. I'm there as spiritual help. Like Billy Graham. Billy Graham didn't put any pictures up. He would go on a private entrance, meet with the president, and leave and never tell anybody what was said. And then that breeds credibility. People know they can talk to you, and it's not going to go on your Instagram page. You're not filming everything that's happening. You're there. A minister is the highest office on planet Earth. The kings know that they need him. I mean, look at Dag Haywood-Mills. I'm sure presidents have spiritual problems. Presidents and prime ministers have kids that are on drugs and stuff. If you're there to take a picture, you need to be somebody that everybody that needs help, you carry yourself. You are not a means to finance my ministry. Thank God you're blessed. Enjoy your blessing. I'm blessed. I'm here to meet needs. I don't have needs. God has supplied all my needs according to his riches and glory. And you've done a great job at that.
But you give him a but you are rare. You are rare in the sense that very few people have your boldness and courage, very few. But
Before you finish,
no, but
don't you think, though, I wasn't that rare in 1980?
no, I'll tell you what I think. What works for you? The reason you can have so much fun, you can wind people up, and you can even respond on, Twitter, all that, is your spirit. You've got a good spirit. And that always comes through. So you can tease a guy in the front row about a city council meeting. I'm going to have to go and spend half an hour with them afterwards. No, I'm joking, but it comes from a good spirit,
Yes.
And so there's other people who, wind people up, say things that are, potentially offensive, but from a bad spirit. And it doesn't, it's people are bold out of cynicism. People are bold out of, their own negativity, their own past experiences. That'll never work. So to me, your greatest gift in terms of your boldness and having fun and,
It comes from a happy place.
it comes from a free spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not vomiting your bed. And I think that's why you can say insane things to people when they laugh.
Yeah.
Even that guy that was protesting at the bullhorn, he's like, I actually like listening to him a lot. Because it's not coming. And when I came out, he had left because he ran out of batteries. I wasn't going to yell at him. I was going to say very nice things in a bullhorn to him because I thought it would be funny. I feel like we have more in common than we have in a bullhorn. So that is the secret. I heard a comedian one time that did roasts. He said, how come you insult? How are you able to insult people when they laugh? He said, because I don't not like them. He said, if you roast somebody
That's exactly
that
right.
you don't like, he said, it won't work. You have to actually love them, and then and it doesn't come out dirty sounding.
Yeah, so as long as, I'd say to young people, as long as however you minister is coming from a good spirit, God will grace it and bless it and use it. But if it's coming from the wrong place on the inside.
And I would put that number one. If you have insecurity, or your dad didn't like you, or your dad didn't go to your baseball games, you need to get healed. You need to get that under the blood of Jesus. If you carry some kind of insecurity or bitterness, it won't just limit your ministry. It'll limit you. It'll make you somebody people don't like being around. And it's not a few people. It's not even a majority. It might be 90+% of people. I'm talking guys in their 60s, 70s that because of their mom didn't look at their report card, or no one approved of them, or their brother had I'm telling you, they carry it, and it comes through in their preaching, and it'll come out in your preaching. People say that I'm too bold. You're always, it's like every time you speak, it's self-defense. Whereas when you're free,
Exactly.
you don't have, nothing comes out mean. I'll tell you an interesting thing. There's a lady, she's reformed, a young lady, and she has a big YouTube account. I think it might be about 1 million viewers or so, or subscribers. So she went to the Southwest Believers Convention to film and to rake every speaker over the coals. She's anti-word of faith, she's reformed. So she when she got on camera, she goes, I gotta say, I was coming with the intention to smash all these people, and I do believe most of them are heretics, which I don't, but she said, but I gotta say, Jesse Duplantis was probably one of the 3 favorite church services I've ever been to in my life. She said, I didn't wanna laugh, but I laughed the whole time. And I called him and told him, because she's younger, he's 75. Joy and being free in your spirit, people's husbands hate them, people's children hate them, people's bosses hate them. One old preacher said, you will be, if you do it right, you're the only positive experience that somebody will have in their week, the average person. They don't have parents that pray for them. So if you come in and they're being yelled at all week long, and then they come in and get yelled at by you, even if what you're saying's right, you're yelling against sin, but you don't feel good. There should be something you speak that lifts people. It's like oxygen to them. It's like if I can make it to Sunday, if I can make it to Wednesday, if I get in that room, I can get refreshed. And you provided that.
Yeah, I always used to tell our church that I believe for people to leave church feeling better about God, feeling better about life, and feeling better about themselves than when they came in.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing as you're saying.
I appreciate that. This really, what I envisioned that this would be for me personally, and then I just figured I'd let people listen in. It's 10 times what I had hoped. You've really helped me. I feel like I have like more wisdom going forward, and I know how far it is from California to here, and I appreciate you because I know deep down you'd be happy to never get on a plane again for the rest of your life, but we all have to. So thank you for doing that.
I've enjoyed it. I loved it.
A show of appreciation for the man of God.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, remain on your feet, and we're going to pray for you. Then I'll get something to eat. Lift both hands to the Lord. I'm going to have you bless everybody, and then I'll close up.
You want me to pray for people?
Sure.
Yeah. Father, thank you. Thank you for every one of these incredible people. Thank you, Lord, for the call of God on their life. Thank you, Father, that you're able to do and wanting to do more than they could ever hope, think, or imagine. Lord, I just thank you for the deposit that's in them. And I believe, Father, that you'll protect it, that you'll keep it, Lord, that you'll nourish it, and that the seed that's inside these young ministers, these young people will grow into a mighty harvest, phenomenal ministry, phenomenal breakthroughs, phenomenal testimonies, phenomenal stories. Lord, may what comes out of this room in terms of your kingdom and representing your kingdom be more than we could have ever imagined. Lord, world-impacting, life-changing ministries. Thank you for it in Jesus' name. Thank you for Pastor Jonathan and for this work, Lord, this ministry. And it's only in its infant stages. But Lord, you've got so much more for them, so much more in terms of life and expansion and growth and impact. And so I pray into that as well. In Jesus' name, amen.
What's your newest book?
The newest book was called There Is More. Right now I'm writing my story.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm writing my autobiography. Yeah, so.
But the newest one out now is There's More?
There Is More, yeah.
Go out and just give it your all. And like you heard it, I'm glad you shared what you shared. We're 250,000 in the hole. People just think everything sailed for people. Keep going. If a challenge comes up, knock it back down and keep going. Don't quit. And if you do and you stay consistent, don't change, keep sowing seed and sowing seed, the cloud gets full and you get your harvest. So I hope this week helped you. I'll be with you again tomorrow at 10 in the morning, 10-ish. And then tonight I'll broadcast it at 8 o'clock if you're watching. I love it. Thank you everybody all over the world that's watching. I hope you enjoyed today. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, you're a blessing. And thanks for giving me information that you could only get from about 3 or 4 people on planet Earth.
You're a blessing.
Thank you. All right, let's get something to eat. Adios, everybody.